5 years ago was a very different situation for all of us. And, Archie was so little.
A recent headline claims Meghan Markle has suddenly left Montecito, and what followed is said to have surprised everyone. But did she really leave her home? Or is this another story blown out of proportion by online buzz? And what is the real truth behind what happened next? What leaving Montecito actually means news about Meghan leaving Montecito quickly spread online and made it sound like something big and sudden had happened. Many people first thought she had packed up and walked away from her home for good. But when the details were carefully checked, it became clear that the story was not what it seemed. Meghan did not abandon her life in California. What really happened was much simpler, yet still interesting enough to catch attention. She and Prince Harry had traveled out of the United States for a short visit to Australia. This trip lasted only a few days, but because of how fast news moves, the simple act of traveling turned into something much bigger in the public eye. Words like leaving were used in a dramatic way, even though it only meant stepping away from home for a brief time. For people who follow their lives closely, this kind of wording can easily create confusion. During their time in Australia, the couple moved from one city to another, meeting people and attending events that focused on important causes. Their schedule included visits connected to mental health, community support, and charity work. Meghan also made a short appearance at a wellness-focused gathering, which later became a topic of discussion online. Some people praised her presence, while others questioned the nature of the event, especially because it was seen as exclusive. Even with the mixed reactions, it was still just one part of a larger trip that had many positive engagements. What makes this situation interesting is how quickly a normal trip turned into a breaking story. The idea of Meghan leaving Montecito started to grow, not because she actually moved away, but because people began adding their own guesses to the situation. This is something that often happens with public figures. A small action can become a big headline, especially when there is already curiosity about their lives. After completing their activities in Australia, Meghan and Harry returned to their home in Montecito. There was no sign of a permanent move, no official announcement, and no sudden change in their living situation. Instead, they went back to the same place they have called home for years. This shows how different reality can be from the way stories are sometimes told. Still, the attention did not slow down. People continued to wonder if there was something more behind the trip. Some began to ask if this could be a sign of future plans, while others simply enjoyed following every detail of the journey. The interest stayed strong because Meghan's life has always drawn global attention, and even the smallest updates can spark big conversations. At the heart of it all, this moment highlights how easily stories can shift. A short trip can be turned into a major turning point, even when nothing permanent has changed. It also shows how important it is to look closely at facts instead of just headlines. Meghan's connection to Montecito remains the same, and her trip was simply part of her ongoing work and lifestyle. But even though the truth clears up the confusion, one question still lingers in people's minds. If something this simple could create so much noise, what would happen if a real change ever took place? And more importantly, what exactly happened right after she returned home that made this story even more surprising? The real timeline. What happened? What followed after Meghan returned home added a softer and more personal layer to the entire story. And this was the part many people did not expect. After days of public appearances, long flights, and busy schedules, she stepped back into her home life in Montecito, where something simple but meaningful was waiting. Instead of more headlines or public drama, the moment that stood out the most happened quietly within her own family. When Meghan and Harry got back, their children welcomed them in a warm and thoughtful way. Archie and Lilibet had prepared a small surprise to show how much they missed their parents. It was not anything grand or expensive, but it carried deep emotion. A handmade welcome gesture from children who were happy to see their parents again quickly shifted the mood of the story. What started as a loud and dramatic headline suddenly turned into a gentle family moment that many people could relate to. This moment mattered because it reminded people that behind all the attention and public life, there is still a normal family trying to enjoy time together. After traveling across countries and meeting so many people, Meghan returned not to chaos, but to a calm and loving environment. It showed a side of her life that often gets hidden behind constant media noise. At the same time, this simple homecoming also helped change how people viewed the entire situation. Instead of focusing only on where she went or why she traveled, attention slowly moved toward how she balances her public duties with her role as a mother. The contrast was clear. One moment she was attending high-level events far away, and the next she was back home, reconnecting with her children in a quiet space. Still, not everyone saw it the same way. While many people appreciated the emotional side of the story, others continued to question different parts of the trip. Some discussions stayed focused on her brief appearance at the wellness gathering in Australia, especially because of its exclusive nature. This kept the conversation going online, mixing both admiration and criticism. Even so, the family moment remained one of the most talked about parts because it felt real and easy to understand. As the days passed, it became clear that nothing about Meghan's living situation had changed. She was still based in Montecito, continuing her work while also making time for her family. The idea of her leaving for good slowly faded, replaced by a more accurate picture of a short trip, followed by a meaningful return home. What makes this part of the story stand out is how it quietly challenged the earlier narrative. The loud headlines suggested movement and change, but the reality showed stability and routine. Meghan's life did not shift in a dramatic way. Instead, it continued in a steady rhythm, moving between public responsibilities and private family time. Yet, even with this clearer picture, curiosity did not disappear. In fact, it grew in a different direction. People began to wonder why stories like this keep appearing again and again. Why does every trip or public appearance quickly turn into speculation about bigger changes? And could there be deeper reasons behind the constant talk about her possibly leaving Montecito someday? The stun moment after leaving. The more people followed the story, the more they began to notice a pattern. Each time Meghan travels or appears in a new place, fresh talk about her leaving Montecito starts all over again. It almost feels like the same story is being told in different ways, even when nothing has truly changed. This repeated cycle is not random. It is driven by curiosity, attention, and the way public stories grow quickly, especially around well-known figures. One reason these ideas keep spreading is because Meghan and Harry live a life that is partly private and partly public. They do not share every detail, so small updates often leave room for people to guess what might be happening behind the scenes. When there is a gap in information, imagination quickly fills it. A simple trip can turn into a possible move. A short appearance can be seen as the start of something bigger. Another reason comes from the nature of the place they live. Montecito is known for being calm and quiet, which is very different from busy cities like Los Angeles. Because of this, some people believe it may not fully match Meghan's career goals, especially as she continues to work on media projects and public engagements. This idea has been talked about many times, even though there has been no clear proof that she plans to leave. It remains a suggestion, not a confirmed fact. There is also a strong interest in Meghan's next steps. Since she and Harry stepped away from royal duties, many people have been watching closely to see how their new life will grow. Every move, every trip, and every decision is seen as part of a bigger journey. This makes even small changes feel important, because people believe they might lead to something new. At the same time, online platforms play a big role in keeping these stories alive. Once a headline starts gaining attention, it spreads quickly, often without full context. People react, share, and add their own thoughts, which can make the story grow beyond its original meaning. Before long, a simple update turns into a major discussion, even if the facts remain the same. What is important to understand is that, up to now, there has been no official statement confirming any plan for Meghan to leave Montecito permanently. She continues to live there, balancing her personal life with her public work. The repeated rumors do not come from confirmed changes, but from ongoing interest and speculation. This situation shows how easily a story can be shaped by attention rather than facts. It also explains why the idea of Meghan leaving keeps coming back, even when she remains in the same place. People are not just reacting to what is happening now, but also to what they think might happen in the future. And that leads to an even bigger question that keeps the conversation going. If the rumors are not based on real changes, then what does her life in Montecito truly look like behind all the headlines? And could the reality of her daily life be very different from what many people imagine? Why rumors about leaving Montecito? keep spreading. To truly understand the full picture, it helps to look closely at what Meghan's life in Montecito actually looks like beyond all the noise. From the outside, it is easy to imagine something dramatic or unusual, but the reality is much more balanced and steady than many headlines suggest. Her daily life is built around a mix of work, family time, and carefully chosen public appearances, all happening in a place that offers privacy and calm. Montecito itself plays a big role in shaping that lifestyle. It is known for being peaceful, quiet, and far from the constant rush of major cities. For Meghan and Harry, this setting provides a kind of space that is hard to find elsewhere. It allows them to step away from pressure when needed, especially after years of intense public attention. This environment makes it easier to focus on raising their children and building a life that feels more normal, even while being in the public eye. At home, much of Meghan's time is centered around family. After returning from trips like the one to Australia, she shifts back into a routine that includes being present with Archie and Lilibet. Simple moments like spending time together indoors or enjoying the outdoor space around their home become an important part of her daily rhythm. These are the kinds of moments that are not always seen, yet they form the foundation of her life. Alongside family life, her work continues in a steady and planned way. Meghan remains involved in media projects, creative partnerships, and causes she cares about. Instead of constant public appearances, she chooses when and where to show up. This gives her more control over her schedule and allows her to focus on projects that align with her interests. It is a different approach from her earlier royal life, where many duties were fixed and highly structured. This balance between public work and private life is one of the key reasons Montecito still fits her lifestyle. It gives her the freedom to move between both worlds without feeling overwhelmed. She can travel when needed, attend important events, and then return to a space where things are calmer and more personal. That kind of flexibility is not always easy to find, especially for someone constantly in the spotlight. Despite this, the idea that Montecito might not be enough for her keeps appearing in conversations. Some believe that being closer to larger entertainment centers could open more doors for her career. Others think that her current setup already gives her everything she needs. These different views continue to shape the way people talk about her future, even though no clear decision has been shared. It is also worth noting how carefully Meghan manages what she shares with the public. Unlike before, when much of her life was constantly visible, she now keeps many details private. This creates a sense of mystery, which can sometimes lead to more guessing. When people do not see everything, they often try to fill in the missing pieces themselves. This is one of the reasons why stories about her life can take unexpected turns. Her connection to Montecito is not just about location, but about what it represents. It stands for a new chapter, one where she has more control over her choices and her time. It reflects a shift from a highly controlled environment to one where she can decide how to live, work, and raise her family. That kind of change is significant, even if it does not always make dramatic headlines. At the same time, her life is not completely removed from public attention. Every appearance, every trip, and every project still draws interest. This means she continues to live in two worlds at once. One is quiet and personal, filled with family moments and daily routines. The other is public and widely discussed, where even small actions can become major talking points. Balancing these two sides is an ongoing process. What makes this balance even more interesting is how it challenges common expectations. Some people expect constant visibility and big moves, while others appreciate the quieter approach she has taken. Meghan's current lifestyle does not fully match either extreme. Instead, it sits somewhere in between, combining privacy with selective public engagement. As time goes on, this way of living may continue to evolve. New opportunities could appear, and her priorities might shift, depending on what matters most to her and her family. But for now, everything points to stability rather than sudden change. Montecito remains her base, and her life continues to move forward in a steady, controlled way. Even with this clearer understanding, the curiosity does not disappear. In fact, it becomes stronger in a different way. Instead of asking whether she has left Montecito, people begin to wonder what her next big step might be. Could there be a moment when she decides to make a major change? Not because of rumors, but because she truly wants something new. And if that moment ever comes, it would likely look very different from the dramatic stories that often appear online. It would not be about sudden exits or shocking surprises, but about a carefully chosen decision that reflects her personal goals. Until then, her life in Montecito continues quietly, even as the world keeps watching closely, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Life in Montecito. When everything is placed side by side, the story begins to look very different from the way it first appeared. What started as a loud and urgent update about Meghan leaving Montecito slowly settles into something much calmer and more understandable. There was no sudden exit, no dramatic turning point, and no confirmed move away from her home. Instead, there was a short trip, a return, and a continuation of the same life she has been building over the past few years. This contrast between what is said and what is real is what keeps people watching so closely. It shows how quickly attention can shape a story into something bigger than it truly is. The word leaving carries a strong feeling, and once it is used, it creates an image of change, movement, and even conflict. But in this case, that image does not match the facts. Meghan did not walk away from Montecito. She simply traveled, completed her engagements, and came back home. Even so, the reaction to the story reveals something deeper about how people view her life. There is a strong sense of curiosity around every step she takes, especially because her journey has already included so many changes. From royal duties to a new life in the United States, people have seen her make major decisions before. Because of this, they are always watching for signs of what could come next. A simple trip can feel like the beginning of another big shift, even when it is not. As the dust settles, the focus begins to move away from the idea of leaving and toward what really matters in her current life. Her routine, her family, and her work all continue without interruption. There is no sign of instability or sudden change. Instead, there is a steady flow where each part of her life connects smoothly with the others. Travel fits into her schedule, but it does not replace her home. Public appearances bring attention, but they do not define her entire life. This steady pattern also shows how much control she now has over her choices. Unlike before, when many decisions were guided by royal expectations, she now decides where to go, when to appear, and how to spend her time. This level of control is important because it shapes everything else. It allows her to build a life that feels more balanced, even while being in the spotlight. Montecito remains a key part of that balance, offering a place where she can return and reset. At the same time, it is clear that her story is still evolving. Even though nothing dramatic happened this time, the interest around her life is not going away. If anything, it continues to grow. People are not just watching what she does, but also trying to understand what it means. Each action is seen as part of a bigger picture, and each moment becomes a piece of a larger story that is still being written. This is why the idea of a next move keeps coming back. It is not always based on facts, but on expectation. Many believe that someone with her background and influence will eventually make another major step, whether in her career, her location, or her public role. This belief keeps the conversation alive, even when there is no clear evidence to support it. Still, it is important to separate what is known from what is imagined. What is known is simple and clear. Meghan lives in Montecito. She travels when needed. She works on projects that matter to her. She spends time with her family. These facts have not changed. What is imagined, however, is often shaped by headlines, opinions, and assumptions that do not always reflect reality. This difference between truth and imagination is what gives the story its energy. It creates a space where anything can be suggested, even if it is not confirmed. For viewers and readers, this can be both exciting and confusing. It keeps them engaged, but it also makes it harder to see what is really happening. As the story continues to unfold, one thing becomes clear. The real surprise is not that Meghan left Montecito, but that she did not. The expected drama never arrived. Instead, the outcome was quiet, steady, and grounded. This unexpected calm is what makes the situation stand out. In a world where big reactions are common, a simple and stable reality can feel surprising on its own. Looking ahead, the same pattern may repeat again. Another trip could lead to new headlines. Another appearance could spark fresh discussions. The cycle of attention, speculation, and clarification may continue, because that is how public stories often work. But within that cycle, the truth remains steady, even when the noise around it grows louder. For Meghan, this means continuing to live in a space where her personal reality and public image do not always match. She moves forward with her plans while others try to interpret them from the outside. This creates a constant gap between what is lived and what is reported. Understanding this gap is key to seeing the full picture. And yet, even with everything explained, one feeling remains strong. Curiosity does not fade easily. People still want to know what comes next, not because of what has happened, but because of what might happen in the future. Will she stay in Montecito long term? Or will there come a time when she chooses a different path? That question continues to sit quietly in the background, waiting for an answer that has not yet been given. And until that answer arrives, every step she takes, no matter how small, will continue to be watched, discussed, and sometimes misunderstood, as the world keeps looking for the next moment that might finally match the headline, despite the behind the headlines. As everything comes together, the story finally settles into a clear and simple truth that feels very different from the loud beginning. What looked like a sudden exit, something dramatic and unexpected, turns out to be a normal part of Meghan's routine. She traveled, she showed up for her work, and she returned to the same home where her life continues to grow. There was no hidden twist, no secret move, and no confirmed change in where she lives. What makes this situation so interesting is not what happened, but how it was seen. The reaction says more than the action itself. A single word like leaving created a wave of attention that quickly spread across different spaces, pulling people into a story that felt urgent and important. It shows how powerful simple language can be, especially when it is connected to someone whose life already carries so much public interest. At the same time, this moment gives a clearer view of how Meghan's life now works. She is no longer in a space where every step follows strict rules. Instead, she moves with more freedom, choosing when to be seen and when to step back. This kind of life naturally includes travel, new experiences, and different locations, but it does not always mean permanent change. Movement does not always equal leaving, and that is an important difference that this story helps highlight. There is also something quietly meaningful about how the situation ended. After all the noise, the focus returned to something simple and personal: home, family, a steady routine that continues without interruption. This ending feels almost opposite to the beginning, and that contrast is what makes it stay in people's minds. It reminds viewers that not every big headline leads to a big shift. Sometimes the real story is found in what stays the same. Still, the curiosity around Meghan does not disappear, and it likely never will. Her journey has already included moments of change, bold decisions, and new directions. Because of this, people naturally expect more turning points in the future. They watch closely, looking for signs, even in the smallest details. This constant attention keeps her story alive, even during quiet periods. But there is a lesson hidden inside all of this. It becomes clear that not every update should be taken at face value. Headlines are designed to catch attention, but the full story often requires a closer look. When the facts are carefully followed, the picture becomes more balanced and less dramatic. This does not make it less interesting, but it does make it more real. As time moves forward, Meghan's life will likely continue in the same steady way, with moments of travel, work, and family time blending together. There may be new projects, new appearances, and possibly new directions, but those will come from her own choices, not from speculation. The idea of her leaving Montecito may appear again in the future, but unless it is confirmed, it will remain just that, an idea, not a fact. What truly stands out in this story is how expectation can shape reality in the eyes of the public. Many expected a dramatic outcome, and when it did not happen, the quiet truth felt surprising on its own. This shows that sometimes the biggest twist is the absence of one. Stability in a world that often looks for chaos can feel unexpected. However, Meghan's story in Montecito continues just as it has been, grounded and consistent, even while the world around it keeps reacting. The noise may rise and fall, but her day-to-day life moves at its own pace, untouched by the rush of headlines. That steady rhythm is something that does not always get attention, yet it is what defines her current chapter the most. And now, as this moment fades and the conversation slowly shifts, one thought lingers quietly. If something as simple as a short trip could create such a strong reaction, what would happen if a real, confirmed change ever took place? Would it be as dramatic as people imagine, or would it unfold in the same calm and controlled way? So what does this moment really show about truth, perception, and the way stories are shaped around public figures? How does real life stay steady while headlines chase drama?